Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all of you here. Appreciate it. I would like to give a shout out to the ranking member on my subcommittee, Senator Whitehouse. We are both on the 45Q tax credit bill, the Future Act, and my colleague from Illinois is a co-sponsor as well. Dr. Friedman, when you were questioned by the senator from California as to the job benefits of pursuing an active CCSU or CCUS format around the country, one of the jobs that you didn't mention, but I'm sure you knew, were the coal mining jobs that are associated with keeping coal as an active energy source here in the country. So for a place like West Virginia, that has great meaning. So I'll add that to the mix of the numerous jobs that you mentioned would be not just created but sustained through an active CCUS commitment. Let me ask you just a quick question, Dr. Friedman. In your statement, you mentioned, and you mentioned this orally too, that there's 16 projects that are currently doing this and 22 that are going to be doing it by the year 2020. We know Petronova is one in the United States. How many of these 16 are located in the United States?
Quite a number of them. The LaBarge project in Wyoming is one of these projects. The Air Products project in Port Arthur, Texas. It's actually the largest clean hydrogen project in the world, is in the United States. Plant Berry, the Enid fertilizer plant that actually sends the CO2 through the company of Chaparral into Oklahoma for enhanced oil recovery. There's quite a lot.
Okay. Good. I was wondering, since you mentioned that a third in North America, I thought, was that a way of saying North America but not in this country? But that's not the case, so thank you for that. Mr. Greason, you mentioned some of the regulatory burdens. We've talked a lot about the financial burdens, and that's part of the reason that 45Q, the Future Act, is so important, I think. In terms of the regulatory burden, is there any way that you can approximate which one's a bigger burden to you or was to you at Petronova and the development? Was it the financial, was it the regulatory, or are they all just too melded in there together to really make a distinction?
Thank you, Senator. Absolutely, far and away, the upfront capital cost was the biggest barrier. We found a number of like-minded companies that joined in with us, so we limited each company's exposure to the project. And so that's how we were able to raise the capital. But behind that is we did have to do a lot of tap dancing to find a way to make this project work. One was to just have a minimal touch point on the existing plant so that we avoided new source review. But there were others, as I mentioned, the Class 6 versus Class 2 injection well dust up. That was real exciting at a time we were very near the end of our financing, and the lenders were asking, what are you talking about, an extra $100 million? NEPA was also something that was we feel like a burden on the project that with no real environmental benefit. Every aspect of this project is on disturbed lands, industrial sites, and so we weren't really incrementally having any impact, but yet because of the grant, we had to go through that. So there were a number of things like that.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Mr. Fry, noticed in your bio that you acquired your beginning education at Davis and Elkins College in West Virginia.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Very proud of that. And are you a West Virginian or a Wyoming?
I'm originally from Virginia.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
In any event, talking about pipelines, we're having issues in West Virginia, I'm sure all across the country, obviously, about siting and permitting of pipelines. Is there from a technological standpoint, is there a way to convert old pipelines into pipelines that can carry carbon, or do you have to have a specialized new pipeline developed, or is that a bad concept to use an old pipeline for what's considered to be a newer technology?
So actually, to utilize an old pipeline would be a challenge because the CO2 is in supercritical state, which means it's under extremely high pressure. But what we've done in siting our pipeline corridors in Wyoming is followed alongside of those old pipelines. So whereby we disturb less ground by following to the side in a safe manner. So there's an opportunity to use the pipeline in the corridor, but not the pipe itself.
Is the corridor, as I understand it, just an intrastate, so you're not crossing over into other states?
Yes, ma'am. It's challenging from a NEPA perspective to do internal, but when we started to think about coordinating with our neighboring states where we'd enter and leave the state, it just became too much of a challenge. So we come close to the borders, but we're not promoting going across.
Do you consider this like a step one for you? Because I would imagine in order to really maximize the financial benefit, being able to go outside of the state would probably be beneficial as well.
We're hoping that our model follows through in our neighboring states, and then we can start opening those
Connect.
discussions.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.